And if I was going to give it a rating, I would give it 9.67 out of fish, because I think ratings are ridiculous and they don't really mean anything. Simon the Bored A-Hole here, and yes, The Batman is out today. If you mostly subscribe to my YouTube channel for fitness content, you're probably not even watching this, but sometimes people do, and they get in the comments, go, oh, I'm so mad. We'll get back to it tomorrow because The Batman is out today, and because I got to see it about 10 days ago now, because I am a bored A-Hole, I just wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to get into it. Now, look, I'm going to try and not touch on any spoilers, but as we're going to answer some of the questions that you sent to me, and I'm just going to rant, they may come out of my mouth. I mean, I doubt they will, but I like to warn people, because people get so mad about spoilers, which I totally understand. Now, I guess make sure you go watch my Batman. I ranked all the Batman movies last week, whenever it was, and basically my top 3, if I can remember properly, were The Dark Knight, I think is the best Batman movie ever. Well, actually, I think you need to throw them all into one big ball, and when you throw them into one big ball, they transcend movies. I know, I'm a very weird guy. I love Lego Batman, again, for reasons we talked about, and Batman 1989. I think if I really, really had to put them, but then, you know, there's other movies that I do want to watch. So, I suppose the first question would be, where would I put the Batman in that list? And I don't know. I need to go and see it twice because, and I think some people are going to have different takes now that I've read all the different reviews after they've come out. To me, it's a very daring movie. Now, look, it's still incredibly somber and incredibly melancholy and dark and gritty and all these words, and it rains all the time. Like, it is a very morose movie, but that's the intent. However, I think some of the ways it goes about pitching Batman is different to how we've seen it on the big screen. Sometimes I say these things, and I mean it in reference to films. Obviously, in the graphic novels and the comics, we've done everything with Batman. Absolutely everything. So for me, the most interesting part when you sit down to watch it is when Batman first turns up to beat up some thugs. It's not the usual grandiose, you know, dun, 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 here is Batman. In fact, it's quite subdued and it's quite, I don't want to say pulled back, but it doesn't have the usual gravitas that it does intentionally. And during all of this too, you have Bruce Wayne narrating over the whole thing, right? And it's quite obvious he's writing in a journal because he says stuff like the date and, oh my gosh, I'm a second year Batman. I'm so sad that my parents are dead. And at first I was like, what the flub is this? Like, what the flub is this? I said this on my What Culture review as well. If you want more of me looking into camera and just, you know, saying nice sentences, go and watch the What Culture one. This is more, like I say, of a rant. But yeah, at the time I thought, wait a minute, there's every chance I may not like this Batman movie. I always go into a Batman movie and just presume I'm going to love it because I'm such a Batman fan. So I kind of started to freak out. I was like, there's every chance this could be bad. Maybe they haven't got it right. And it sort of takes about an hour when you get into the second act. Because of course, the movie's 3 hours. Did not feel like 3 hours for me. And by the time you get to the second act, I kind of noticed what it's doing. And it sets itself up more like a graphic novel than it does a movie. So when he is narrating over those scenes, it's almost like when you're in the windows of a comic book, graphic novel, etc. And you're getting that thrown at you. So that I quite liked. And this is the reason I need to go and see it again. Because now that I have this knowledge, I'd like to approach it going, right, I know what they're trying to do. Because Batman is a bit of a dick in this film. Or Bruce Wayne, I should say, is a bit of a dick. And it's because he is only, you know, brand new at doing this. He's still trying to find his way. And the evolution of the character essentially is at first he's like, you've seen it in the trailer, you know, I am justice or vengeance. And by the end, he's like, oh no, I need to be a symbol of hope. I need to, you know, let people know everything's going to be okay. So that's quite a nice thing. But there are so many things that he does. Like he finds out some really, really sensitive information halfway through, which is a little bit of a red herring. And he takes that to Alfred. Alfred, at the time, doesn't need anyone to speak poorly of him. But Bruce Wayne barges in there and is all like, oh, you son of a, you know, rah, rah, rah. You're like, man, Bruce, you need to calm down. But I kind of think like you can throw that at all the characters in it, which is another reason why I think it's proper shades of grey, right? It's not black, it's not white. It's shades of grey because even the Riddler, and this is a screwed up representation of the character. Now, again, one of the criticisms I've read after the fact is he looks a bit stupid. I don't think he looks a bit stupid. I think that's unfair. I like the fact that much like I love the Christopher Nolan movies, it's all about, okay, if we had this psychopath, what could he use in the real world? You know, how can we ground this in reality? And that's always my favorite thing. But even he has a scene, and this dude, I tell you, he's screwed up. He's really bad. There's some dark moments with him. But even he has a scene where you're like, oh my gosh, I see where you're coming from and I see why you thought this. And I wouldn't say you're sympathetic to him, but it's certainly leaning in that direction. Then you have Selena Kyle, which is the, you know, quintessential piece of evidence when it comes to it, because she's half bad and she's half good, but she has good reasons for it. And she too also has all these surprises that get revealed. And by the end of the thing, any major character has basically been interwoven with another major character. And it's very, very well structured. And it's very, very interesting. And some people don't like the fact, or they assume they don't like the fact based on what people have said. It's quite obvious this is being built up for a trilogy, probably, because we all have trilogies nowadays. And it has, you know, left certain doors open that it will close when we get to the Batman 2, the Batman 3, and whatever else we do. Now, I enjoy when we're doing that. I like when we're doing that because I do not think you can tell a Batman story in one movie, or at least I prefer that you didn't. I would prefer that you did put these little teases that we can then build upon in subsequent movies, and we do that a lot. Like, there is a lot of that. So if you expect every single question to be answered here, you're probably going to be disappointed. And there's the whole part about this being a Batman movie where we finally lean into the fact that he is the world's greatest detective. Now, I will say this. Is it more than the other movies? Absolutely. Like, we actually see him at a crime scene trying to figure stuff out, gathering evidence and figuring it out and saying to the police, hey, you numpties, I've worked it out. But is it as much as people made out? No, it's not at all. It's just more than the other ones. I genuinely thought that 90 minutes of this film may be Batman doing it. And it is, like I say, a decent chunk of time. But yeah, I still think that was a little bit exaggerated, I suppose. A little bit exaggerated, but it is still really good. And what I love about that is that you see Batman out of his element. If you watch other Batman movies, sometimes you can't actually take in the costume unless you pour it, etc. Because he, pause. Because he's walking around here slowly and he's just being Bruce Wayne as Batman, you know, he's not flying around the place, you can really take it in, and I think that's cool, and that ties into the relationship he has with Jim Gordon, which I think is especially good in this film, because without Jim Gordon, the Gotham Police Department are going to arrest him, 100%. The only reason they don't is because Jim Gordon has some sway and he's playing both sides quite well, and sometimes in other movies has just been there because Jim Gordon is meant to be there. Never forget in Batman Forever, he runs out in his pajamas for some reason. Someone turns on the bat signal, it's Chase Meridian, and Jim Gordon comes, it doesn't make any sense. It's absolutely crazy, which is why some people get down on the whole, oh my gosh, it's just so downbeat. But I think Batman should be downbeat because, again, it's about a guy that's lost his parents and he grows up and he decides to run around like a bat. But Colin Farrell as the Penguin is also very good. I mean, you cannot talk about that without spoiling the movie because it basically ties into everything else, so I won't say it. But yeah, it's just, you're going to get a bunch of names you recognize thrown at you. It all weaves together really well. And seriously, by the end, the first thing I wanted to do was go right back into the cinema, even though I'd sat there for 175 minutes. And I think it just zooms by. The Batmobile section is good, probably a little bit short, but that's okay. And I guess the way we treat Gotham from the start of the movie to the end of the movie, also great. And again, there is one massive surprise in there, which by tomorrow, because again, some people are seeing it right now, there is a massive surprise that everybody is going to chat about and they're going to debate and they're going to dissect. And I don't know. My opinion on it is I need to see more, essentially. But I will leave it there. But I want to make it very clear. When we talk about these things, you do kind of jump from negative to positive. I think it's the Batman film. I think it's a tremendous Batman film. I think it's exceptionally well done and it's really, really well thought out. And it's weird. Robert Pattinson is a good Batman, but at this juncture, I wouldn't say that he outdoes Keaton or Bale for me. They're my two favorite Batmans. Or Kevin Conroy, but again, we're focusing on live action movies. But he does do a very good job. And because there is an emo, I suppose, feeling to it, he's a good guy to step into that role, right? For obvious reasons. He's done it before, and he can do it again. But like I said, I'm seeing it again on Sunday. I'm very, very excited. I'll probably go and see it for a third time, and then I'll think about it, and I'll dissect it again, blah, blah, blah. I just think it's awesome. I think it's a great film. And I think if you're into Batman being done this way, you will enjoy it too. Doesn't mean that I'm correct. Everybody has a different opinion. Let me go through some of your questions. So we start with Lee Sean. Lee, thank you very much for contributing. He said, I truly appreciate the Batman content you have provided around this movie. Thanks, man. Mostly on What Culture. Check it out. Your ranking of the Batman films was a fun, insightful video. That's my channel. Any chance you could review the Batman animated film, Mask of the Phantasm? I mean, I could do. I probably would wait until another animated movie came out and then dropped it, but I have seen all those. I guess it depends how well this one does and if there's an appetite for it. But sure, I would review all of them. I think they're all absolutely brilliant. Joshua says, I think you've answered this before in part. How big of a Bat fan do you consider yourself, and how would you say this rendition measured up against, say, the Burton films or the animated series? I'm a pretty big Batman fan. Like, I actually had to stop myself buying comics years and years ago now because it was getting absurd. I was like, I've got nowhere to put these. So I had to promise myself, that's it. And we'll kind of buy, you know, sort of graphic novel collections as and when makes sense. But I mean, easily my favorite superhero. It's like, there's so many things in my life where I debate, not even a question. Batman is my favorite superhero. And I mean, this doesn't really make me a good or Batman fan, but I will tell you, when The Dark Knight came out, I did see it about 7 times in a cinema, which is weird. Even I think I'm strange about that, but I just wanted to keep reliving it over and over and over again. And rarely do I go through a birthday or a Christmas or a Hanukkah where someone doesn't buy me some Batman-related stuff because they're like, it's just easy. So I think I'm a pretty big Batman fan. That doesn't mean I have, like, really good trivia. This is sometimes where I people go nuts. Like, if you ask me, oh, what happened in number 629 of this, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't have that kind of trivia. It's more of a general overview, but I absolutely love it. And really, in many ways, it helped shape my life, which is a stupid thing to say. Michael says, seeing it Thursday with my oldest son. So you've seen it now. I'm a huge Batman nerd. No, you are also, Simon. Hope you enjoyed it. I did, Mike. Clockwork Orange Cassidy says, what does Patterson bring to the role? Given the not getting buff, then did anyway build up, how does he handle himself physically? Oh, man, yeah, there's loads of... That's not a problem at all. I mean, you see him once with his shirt off. I mean, I would imagine if we ever saw Michael Keaton with his shirt off, he probably wouldn't be as big as Robert Pattinson is in this movie. So that's not an issue at all. But no, it's a lot of physicality to the role. And there's a lot of fight scenes that are really cool, really well done, and quite brutal. Like, they really do not hold back. I'm quite surprised there's no blood, right? But if it got an 18 rating, I would have seen where they're coming from. Again, I don't want to say he's... At the moment, I feel like he's below Bale and Keaton. But again, I've had years and years to, take their roles in and decide, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And watch it over and over and over again. But he is very, very good. Like, he is very, very good. Nobody would ever say he's done a bad job, or somebody will. But you're allowed that. That's your opinion. The Rock Media, he's seen it. It was awesome. Music is still beating in my head. Music is very good. Funny thing is, in the shirtless scene, I thought, I wonder what Simon thinks of his physique. It's pretty good. Yeah, he looks like a ripped teenager, I suppose. Not a teenager, but a guy in their 20s, 30s, whatever. But yeah, he looks like that. It's not a problem at all, is what I would say. And whether he's trolling or not, I don't care. It was a fun conversation at the time. Daniel says, what surprised you most about the film? And what would you like to see from this franchise in the future? Yeah, definitely the way it kind of sets its station up. Like, I was expecting dun, 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 dun. But it doesn't do that. It takes its time, and it builds and it builds, and it's slow and it's well paced and it's well thought out. And I actually really appreciated that by the end. And in terms of what I want to see the franchise do in the future is what it's teased to have done here, which is, evolve a lot of the characters, but also, again, open the door for new people to come in an interesting way. I don't want to see much more. But it really does feel like, even within just a sole Batman movie, we may be creating a bit of a universe here, right? Where people can jump in, jump out. At least that's my hope. We'll have to see. Ducky says, how do you personally rate it compared to Nolan's trilogy out of 10? I can't do that at the moment. Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, to me, is the best thing that has ever happened in cinematic history. And also, I'm coming that from a point where, don't forget, when I went to see Batman Begins, I had to sit through Batman and Robin a few years earlier, which ruined my life. So, Batman and Superman was meh, and the Justice League was meh, but they weren't terrible. They're watchable movies, whereas Batman and Robin is unarguably terrible. Look, right now, if somebody put a gun to my head, I'm picking the Nolan movies. But again, I've had years with them, which is why I want to go and see it again. Mayor says, I've watched the last Batman and it was pretty dark. Can you explain the narrative of the film? Well, without wanting to ruin it, it's just about Batman in his second year of being, Bruce Wayne of his second year of being Batman and struggling to really figure out what this character is, and I suppose facing his first proper villain in the Riddler, who is, like I say, proper flubbed up and is going to murder people in horrific ways. So it's not really an origin story. It's like year one. It's kind of like year two. You take the year one story by Frank Miller and then you put a 2 on it. It's essentially that. Nicholas says, was it dark and different from the other ones? Was it too long? How was Patterson the Batman? I mean, I'll try and focus on the ones we haven't answered. Some people are going to think it's too long. Like, I'm going to see it with my girlfriend. She will think it's too long because she doesn't care about Batman as much as I do. But I think any super duper Bat fan would be into it. And it does feel dark. And it doesn't feel sort of crazy different to what Nolan did with it. It just kind of tweaks it a little bit. But that's how I think all Batman should be presented. We've mucked around with it before. We don't need to muck around for it again. Dan G says, do you think Robert Pattinson got on the source to build his body for this role? Absolutely not. No way. And Lewis says, I think you should do a video after Friday so people can ask you questions about the film itself. Like, what did you think about this and what did you think about that? Lewis, we can do both. If I get a bunch of questions, we'll do another video. Tyler says, is this the best Batman movie? I mean, I don't think so. And I don't think it's ever going to get there. But again, I need to see it a few times, as I have done with the rest. Travis says, do we get to see Batman's bat butt? I mean, maybe. I wasn't really keeping an eye out, but I'm sure at some point you see his ass. Yes, so good for you. And then everybody else was just asking if I am Batman. And no, I'm not, but one day I would like to be. So, if you do have any questions once you've seen the movie, drop them in the comments below. If you could write spoiler on them as well, just so other people know when they scroll down, oh my gosh, I don't want to see. And if I get enough, absolutely, we'll get into it deeper. That's the hard thing about talking about it without spoiling it. There is so much I want to tell you. And I have done it on some What Culture videos. They have spoiler tags all over them, so you can check them out. But yeah, there is a lot of depth here, a lot of exploration of Bruce's parents, about how they, not necessarily how they died, but so on and so forth. It's not a black and white movie, and I massively respect that. And if I was going to give it a rating, I would give it 9.67 out of fish. because I think ratings are ridiculous and they don't really mean anything. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the bell ding ding so you know other videos going live. I shall put the other Batman video up there in case you want to watch it. Otherwise, back to fitness, GorillaMind.com/Simon. You go Simon, get 10% off. I like these supplements. I think they're good. Also, in Greg Doucette's Power 13 cookbook, it's a bunch of recipes in case you're struggling with your diet. We all came together, me and a bunch of other YouTubers and Greg himself, and said, look, here's some nice dishes you can make so you don't cheat on your diet. Instagram and Twitter at SimonMiller316. Patreon.com/SimonMiller316. If you want to support that way, it's appreciated, even $1. On Cameo, if you want a shout out, or if you want me to review the Batman movie for you, I will do it. And SimonMiller.BigCartel.com for merch. It's all in the description down there. There's links and all kinds of information. Thank you for stopping by. Enjoy the Batman, and I'll see you soon.